Good afternoon, everybody. It is the 24th of September 2024, and we saw a small increase in the S&P 500 today by 29 basis points. We are still above this rising 5-day moving average, and this morning we saw what seemed to be a failed move down in the SPY, which was then counteracted with a fast move up. You looked at stocks like NVDA, they had substantial growth during that same sell-off and reversal. We finished at what I believe is at the all-time closing high for the S&P 500 today, and we're still above all the appropriate moving averages on both time frames. I would say we are getting a little bit overextended here, and personally, I would like to see it pull back to 20-day moving average, rebuild, and then move on to all-time highs rather than kind of blasting up through here. We've had a really good run over the last little bit, and I think it's time with the volatility from the Fed. We had a bit of a pullback, we had a bit of a consolidation through time, and allowed us to kind of move onwards and upwards through the S&P 500. So that's kind of where things are at, but we're still above a rising 5-day moving average, and until we start to break that, we remain optimistic. Things are going to continue upwards. In the Nasdaq today, we saw it break a slightly higher high by about 8 cents, I believe. Not by much. We pulled back to the volume weighted average price for the day this afternoon, and then we seem to have found buyers there, and we may have created a nice higher low here. But generally, we're still quite overstretched in this run. We've run from 448 to 485. I really like to see a pullback against that 20-day moving average, rebuild, and then continue on up. The market's kind of stalled in this area. And obviously the SPY is also kind of stalling in this area, creating a bit of a range. Nothing's really happening. We've got generally quite low volume days. We had another low volume day here in the Nasdaq. There's nothing to really read into, but it's just the fact that we're not getting a trends in one direction or the other. We did have about 45 basis points upwards in SPY today, so it is making slow progression, but it's just generally slower than usual. SMH had semiconductors had a fairly decent day here. They're up 1.8% for the day, and we created a higher high above this high, and again, we had a bit of a shakeout here this morning, failed move, reversed, and pulled up quite high. We're still above that 5-day moving average. 50-day moving average on the left-hand side here will start to flatten out in the next couple of days as long as we can kind of keep rallying in this range. 50-day moving average will start to turn. 20-day moving average already is starting to turn because it's taken into consideration this data here. When you average that out across the board, that's where you're kind of looking at. So it looks like we are starting to build the 20-day moving average back up here. It's starting to recover. 50 will start to turn here in the next week if we can kind of keep above this range. So semiconductors is one to keep an eye on. It's a little bit stretched now that we just had this big run up to 244 from 238. So I like to see it personally kind of pull back, consolidate, allow this 50-day moving average to catch up, and then obviously then make a move higher. But the market doesn't really care what I want, but it's just ideal setup and for low risk, high probability trade. XBI, XBI sold off again this morning. People who were trying to buy this breakout up here at 103, that 50 that I've been talking about the last little while. If you're still involved here, then you got what you deserved. You shouldn't have held that loser all the way through. We had a decent trade in this earlier last week. It was I think I got involved around kind of 97.50 mark, and then we took profits all the way up, and we closed around 102. And yeah, it was a good trade, but obviously now it's pulled back, and we don't want to be involved in there. On a shorter term time frame, we're below a 5-day moving average that's declining. This needs time to recover. This is not a trade right now. We need this. We need it to maybe make another lower low and then rebuild and let that 5-day moving average catch up and then build and then buy in somewhere over here later on. But right now, let XBI do what it's supposed to be doing and just kind of leave it as that. Russell 2000 sideways day. Hasn't done anything just yet. It's now below the 5-day moving average, but the 5-day moving average will continue to rise over at least the next day until we start getting into this data here. So if we get trapped under this 5-day moving average as it kind of starts to flatten out and sell off, as start to decline over the next few days, then obviously that would be a caution. It's a nice pullback. It's doing what it should be doing. The biggest thing now is whether or not we get stuck under this 5-day moving average and we don't blast up through it. It looks like we're getting a consolidation through time. It doesn't seem to be heavily profit taking, but it's just something to keep in mind of if you are involved there. Energy names, again, below the volume weighted average price for the day, continues in this kind of like this small consolidation area here, still below a 50-day. Well, we're above a 50-day moving average, but it will continue to decline over for the next few days. And the 20-day moving average is the same story. It will continue to decline. Again, it's mixed messages in it. For the energy names, we generally had a day, a slower day today. We've traded under the volume weighted average price for the day, and we're kind of up against that 5-day moving average. So just keep that in mind. And then this is what we drew in yesterday around potentially it being a double top. So right now we pulled back to that 20-day moving average. Today it sold off, gap down and sold off. What are we down? Maybe 40 cents for the day, 50 cents for the day in totality. It looks like it found buyers at the month to date volume weighted average price. So this could just be a bounce. It could carry on down again until it breaks this trend line and this recent low, which is based off of. I'll just move this out of the way. This recent low, it ultimately won't be classified as a double top, but just again, it's just a move that might come into play. So just keep an eye on it. If it starts to sell off, starts to break this trend line, then obviously wait for it to then consolidate and move down if this does end up happening. But again, just be aware of what's happening. Just a quick look at NVDA here before we get in a few different ideas for the day. So NVIDIA took off, again, failed move lower, caused it to reverse and go higher. This is what we drew in on the shorter term time frame. Obviously, this is no longer really validated, but at the end of the day, it made a higher high above a flat to rising 5-day moving average. So, it pulled back nicely here. I'd like to see a bit of a deeper pullback to the volume weighted average price, which will become the 2-day VWAP tomorrow. So just keep an eye on that. If it pulls back to the 2-day, which will be today's VWAP, and then gets above tomorrow's VWAP, then I would say that's potentially a purchase. Flat to rising 5-day moving average. Just keep in mind the 50-day moving average won't start rising until tomorrow evening, and 20-day moving average will still be declining until we get rid of the next couple of days worth of data. So timelines haven't fully aligned on that yet, but that is something just to keep in mind. We will have a quick look at Bitcoin before we come back and have a look at a couple of trade ideas. What I posted on Twitter earlier is we are kind of still battling with this volume weighted average price from the all-time high. I would say I would like to see it pull back to this 59k area before it gets going again, just so it can allow it to consolidate and build a bit of a solid base before it moves up. Right now, we've already run from 52 up to 64. I think the worst thing that can happen is we go up and we break some of these higher highs that were previously made, and just go straight on up. I think it's going to run out of juice, and I think it will end up pulling back. I would like to see it pull back to around 59k, consolidate for maybe a week or maybe two, and then make a stronger move higher off of a solid base. I think that would be more beneficial for Bitcoin in the long term. But again, no one cares what I think. This is just what I would prefer to see right now on the shorter term time frame. We are just seeing a good spike of volume, but nothing really. Don't particularly want to really get involved here, primarily just because we have already run quite far. So I'm looking for a pullback before getting involved in Bitcoin. A couple of trade ideas for tomorrow. I had a look through, and honestly, a lot of what I'm seeing is overextension in the longs, and then maybe some good short setup. So, if you listen to the market and understand what's going on, it's always good just to get a feel. So, 5-9, this is a technology services company. They are below a 200-day moving average, volume weighted average price for the year, the 50-day moving average and 20-day moving average, month to date volume weighted average price. We're also below the week to date anchor here, and we're also below a decline in 5-day moving average, which will continue to decline over the next few days. We're also below our anchor from the low that's currently here. If we look on the weekly time frame quickly on this side of the chart, we are probably destined further down. It is we put a volume weighted average price from the all-time high. We're well below that. There's no point in even considering that. This looks like it could be breaking down. This is obviously stage 4 stage 3 distribution, and then it just carrying on further down into another stage 4. So we're just kind of continuing down here. I would say tomorrow, if you're looking for a short, potentially look at short below 27.39. I'd say your worst case stop, it probably wants to go up here at 28.04. It's had a nice consolidation here over the next few days, and if it is going to continue further down, I would wait till it breaks this kind of consolidation down under 27.39. CGC is Canada's growth one. Obviously, it's been destroyed over the last little while, peaked at 594, but looking at the weekly time frame, it's still below. I got to zoom in hard here. It's again below the 42, 31, and 21 week moving average on the weekly time frame, and it's below the year-to-date anchor. It looks to me like it has potential to go lower here. It's below the volume weighted average price for the year to date, month to date, and obviously just broke the week to date today. It had a nice rally up here. Now it's just ran from 480 to 460. So tomorrow, if you were looking to get involved, what we should do is just quickly put an anchor on this low here. We're well below that. Let's move this anchor to over here and see where we're at. So we're also below that anchor. So tomorrow, if you want to get involved, I'd say look for a rally up to the 5-day moving average, and then for it short it below the volume weighted average price of the day. Worst case stop, I would say you're probably looking at around the 480 mark up here, and then if it does break down, you could probably move it down to this 468 area. Chances are it looks like it is continuing to go lower, and the 5-day moving average will continue to decline here unless it gets a significant rally into this data. So one to keep an eye on. From a longs perspective, I was having a look at this company Compass. Oh, hold on, let me switch that back. Company Compass, stage 4, stage 1, and then obviously we've just broken this anchor when we're hitting into a stage 2 uptrend now. On the shorter term time frame, it's a little extended here. Had a good run today. Personally, if you're going to get involved, 5-day moving average will kind of be flat for the next day and to the next following day. So it's just one to keep on your watch list. Personally, if you want to get involved, I would say look for a pullback to the volume weighted average price from today. So what you want to do is you want to put an anchor on today's volume weighted average price, and then if it pulls back to that in the morning, or even potentially to the Monday's anchor, which is the week to date anchor, pull back to there and then buy above. Make sure that your 2-day is above your 3-day, and make sure your 1-day is above your 2-day when you buy. But if you get a pull back to this area in the morning, consolidate under the 1-day, and then buy above the volume weighted average price for the day. It's a little extended. It has run, almost doubled in price since August 5th. So, just keep that in mind. And the other one is another short candidate, and this is what I mean. I'm just getting a lot of potential shorts that I'm coming across. So if we look at the daily time frame here on the left, we're below the 200-day, 50, and 20-day moving average. We're also below, obviously, the year-to-date, month-to-date, and week-to-date anchors. Anchor off this low is telling us that we're below that. Anchor off this low that we're telling us below that. If you're looking for a short in here, again, same kind of thing as CGC is, we've just come from 39, high 39s into 38.66. Now, I would probably want to see a rally up to that week to date volume average price, week to date, something like this, rallies up in the morning, and then starts to break down here, and that's where you probably want to look at your purchase under your week to date, under your daily volume weighted average price, because your 2 days going to be up here still, so you're going to probably be pretty safe if that rallies up in the morning, and then buy with a stop below the stop, worst case stop 39.70 to begin with. So it gives you about $1 risk. Again, all of these positions should probably be a half size risk, just primarily because we are short in a potential, in a longer term bull market. But a lot of these stocks are telling me that they're some good shorts are potentially setting up here. So keep that in mind. I hope those help, and we'll follow up on these ones tomorrow. Have a great Tuesday.